The number of foster kids in Arizona continues to increase. This as the number of caregivers is going down. The Aid to Adoption of Special Kids organization is trying to fix this problem by helping kids in foster care connect with those who are willing to adopt or become foster parents. Joining us now is Russ Funk. He's the Director of Community Engagement for AASK. Good to have you here.
Thanks. Appreciate being here.
It's just 13,000 kids in foster homes in Arizona. Why so many?
Well, there's a lot of need. Basically, kids that have come into the foster care system are victims or subjected to risk, abuse, and neglect, right? And when they are removed from their home, they're basically need a place to stay safe until the risk can be fixed and go away. Because foster care is actually an intervention. Mm-hmm. It's meant to just intervene at a point in time when the kid's at risk.
Yeah, and it makes sense, and it sounds like a great program. But is there a shortage now of caregivers? We're hearing. Why is that happening?
Yeah, we're always short of families. There's places for kids to stay. And our focus at AASK is finding family settings. There's a lot of research and even common sense tells you that when you intervene in a kid's life and you have to remove them from their home, the best place for them to be stable and deal with the trauma they've experienced is in a family setting. Right? And lots of research and science shows that if the kids, even if a child bonds with a temporary foster parent, they're more likely to bond with their adoptive family if they go on to adoption, or of course, when they return to their family.
When you say a family situation, does an only child fit with a family where that child would be the only child? Do you put an only child in with a family of 6? I mean, how does that work?
Yeah, either one, right? Either one will work. Part of our job and our contract with the state is to find families. We recruit them, we study them, and we support them once the kids come in. And so families come in all shapes and sizes. And ultimately, we want to put a child in a setting that's been removed from their home. That's best for them. And some kids do better in a situation where they're not the only child. And other kids are going to do better in a situation where they are the only child.
Yeah, that's interesting. So what exactly does your organization do? Take us through the process.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we recruit families. And then what we end up doing is studying them based on their goals. Some want to provide temporary foster care. And others want to build their family through adoption. And so we kind of study them, and then we present their home study to the courts and the state for licensure or certification.
What is Kinship Care? I was reading about that, but I wasn't sure about what it was.
Yeah. Well, Kinship Care is the broad term used for when children are placed with a relative. Right? And so oftentimes, grandmas or grandpas or aunts or uncles get a call in the middle of the night and from the Department of Child Safety and say, hey, we have your grandson, he can't go home. Do you want us to bring him to your house or put him in a foster home somewhere in the community? And a lot of folks are stepping up and saying, well, bring him here.
Yeah. Kids with disabilities, complex medical needs. I know that there are programs for Latino kids, American Indian kids. Runs the gamut, huh?
Yeah. The kids in the system pretty much look like the demographic breakdown of the rest of the society, not surprisingly. One thing that they all have in common, though, is they've experienced a minimum of 2 traumatic experiences. And one was whatever was putting them at risk or abusing them or neglecting them. But the other traumatic experience they've been through is being removed from their home. Because they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't mess up. They didn't commit a crime. That's not how they came into the foster care system. And so this intervention happened to them, and it's traumatic.
And they're kids. They don't understand it.
Right. When my wife and I were doing foster care, the very first child that came to our house, I got excited because we'd been through months of preparation and had to put all the backflow valves on the bibs and everything and got the house ready. And when he came to the door, I opened the door and just like a dork, I said, hey, welcome here. And he had the stone-faced look of a child who had been traumatized. And it hit me. He didn't want to be there.
Yeah. How do you, that's interesting. So with that in mind, how do you include the child? Or do you include the child in the decision process?
Typically not. When they're brought into care, they're not consulted. Nobody asked them if they wanted to leave home, right? They were just taken away for their own good. And typically they're placed by DCS where there's an open bed and in a family that meets their needs and is licensed for that age range child with that level of need. And the kids aren't consulted.
Is that a smart thing?
I think it's an expedient thing. Right? Because you don't want to move kids around. So if you put a kid in a place that meets the criteria and has been decided that is a good placement through experience, it's probably going to work.
But even that stone-faced child, I would imagine if you display a sense of permanence in that home, all kids can sense that, can't they?
I think they sense a commitment to them, and that's what they're looking for, a commitment of acceptance. You know, at AASK we have a saying that they're not foster kids, they're kids in foster care.
Yeah.
Right, and I think recognizing their identity, accepting the fact that they have a family, and they would rather be back with their family no matter how bad it was than be in our home. That's the first step to making a child feel comfortable in your home.
And as a foster parent, you'd have to be able to deal with that kind of thing. That can't be easy.
No. Foster parenting is one of the most selfless acts people could do.
Yeah. Now, there's adoption, there's foster parenting, there's mentoring as well. How far does your organization deal with that?
We have a mentoring program, we have a foster care program and an adoption program. And really what they are, we think of them as vehicles that people can choose to deliver a relationship to a child. Right? And so if you're not ready to take a child into your home, mentoring might be a good way to do that, because you can form a relationship with a child by spending time with them, doing what they like to do, showing up where they live, primarily at group homes, and then just spending time with them. And you become the one person in their life that's not paid to be there.
Interesting. When you say spending time with them, how much time? What kind of time is involved?
Whatever time commitment works out with both the child and the mentor. We ask our mentors to commit to more of a long-term commitment than a monthly hour minimum. Because what kids, especially in group homes, have discovered, like I said, they're the only one, the mentor might be the only one who's not paid to be there. And they've already maybe decided that they're not worth having in a home, and that's why they're living in a non-family setting. So that mentor reaffirms their sense of self-worth. But it takes time.
It does take, I'm sure it does. Interested, if someone's watching right now, I'm interested in this, I want to learn more about this, I want to get involved. How do they do it?
They can contact us at our website at aask-az.org or call us at 602-930-4900.
All right, and I know the numbers don't look all that hot, but is the overall atmosphere getting better?
I would say it's not necessarily getting better. What we have discovered is that even though the numbers seem to have gone down in the past, well, they have gone down in the past few years, it's kind of like the wave has passed, but there's a reef underneath that wave. And that reef is essentially kids living in non-family settings, in group homes.
All right.
And especially teenagers.
Russ Funk, Aid to Adoption of Special Kids. Great work. Congratulations on fighting the good fight.
Thank you, Ted.
It's good to have you here. And that is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great evening.